Again, you should be familiar with not just the order of operations, but the saying to help remember it, which is, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Is kind of the standard way, the mechanism people will use to help remember this. And what these stand for, again, is simply parentheses or any grouping symbol. The E stands for exponents. Okay, the M stands for multiplying. And D is for divide. There is no priority between these two steps. What that means is if something is being multiplied or being divided, it doesn't matter which one you do first. And they're pretty much grouped together. There's no single priority among the two of them. The same is true for A and S, which is add and subtract. It doesn't matter which one you do first. Subtracting is just adding the opposite. Dividing is just multiplying by the reciprocal. So they're the same, similar process anyway. Okay, so those are the order of operations. Okay, for the most part, you guys are familiar with this. One of the things that you need to keep in mind is your TI-89s, if you choose to use them, adheres to order of operations without exception. And so sometimes what happens is students enter things in incorrectly, and they unknowingly mess up the order of operations on their calculator. If you are going to use your calculators to evaluate expressions and things that I'm going to talk about today, my suggestion is enter it exactly as it appears. If it has a grouping symbol, put a grouping symbol. If it has a multiply, put a multiply. And don't infer anything from it. Okay, write it explicitly as it occurs. Okay, one of the biggest places where order of operations will come into play, both by hand or on a calculator, is dealing with negatives and powers. Okay? Because when you look at the comparison between these two values, -3 squared and -3, the quantity -3 squared, it's a good indicator of which and how you use order of operations. So when you look at a negative number is just multiplying a number by a negative. And so it winds up being in this step right here, multiplying. So the negative times the 3 right here is a step of multiplying. The 3 squared is at this step of exponents. So which one comes first? In this first example, you square it first. Exponents comes before multiplying. So you get 9. And then the multiply by a negative comes next. So you get a value of -9 when you evaluate or simplify -3 squared. And now, if your grouping symbols involve that whole process of multiplying by the negative, then this now becomes kind of at this step. It's a parentheses. And then the exponent, the power of 2, is going to apply to that whole group of parentheses. So here you're going to take -3 and square it. So -3 times a -3 gives you a +9. Okay, and so if you're not careful on these, many students will tend to put in the wrong values. Be really careful, and I'll try to point out where this might occur here in one of the examples that we do shortly. If you're going to do this by hand, when you look at this first example and you go through by hand, work inside grouping symbols first. Okay, and within those, the order of operations applies independently as well. So division comes before adding. Exponents come before all of that. So we're going to square the 5, giving a 25. And now division comes before adding. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 plus 25 is 29. Okay, now inside these next set of grouping symbols, we're still going to be working. We square the 7, giving us a 49 plus a 29. When we combine those, we wind up with 40 plus 20 is 60. 9 plus 9 is 18. 60 plus 18 is 78. And now we're going to add that to 9, or 3 squared. And so 78 plus 9 gives us a total of 87. And so your answer would be 87. And now, if you use your calculators, just enter everything exactly as it appears. So everywhere there's a grouping symbol, we put a grouping symbol. 7 to the power of is this caret symbol 2, plus another grouping symbol. 8 divided by, even though it shows up as a slash instead of the division symbol, it's the same operation. 2 plus 5 to the power of 2. Again, notice I didn't add my own grouping symbols anywhere here. I just copied down exactly what the problem showed me, plus 3 to the second. And when I hit enter, it confirms 87 as my correct answer. Okay. Again, my suggestion is if you choose to use your calculators, just enter everything exactly as it appears. There's no reason to take shortcuts or try to kind of hybrid your some mental, some calculator. Just do it on the calculator so you avoid any possible mistakes. Hey, this next one has pretty easy numbers to work with, so I'm just going to do it by hand once again. So work inside my grouping symbols. So now inside these grouping symbols, 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 squared is 49. Add this 7 to it. So that's going to give us a total of 7 and 49 is 56. Plus 12 and minus 2. Now, here's the thing where one of the things that you can do if you're going to be solving mental math is you don't always have to do math left to right. Right? Is there any priority between adding and subtracting? No. And so it's the same process, right? So what you could do is you could move these around. So is it going to be easier to take 12 plus 56 or easier to take 12 minus 2? Yeah, just take 12 minus 2. What's 12 minus 2? 10 plus 56 is 66. Okay, so do you remember that process that allows you to switch the order of numbers? Does anybody remember what that was called? It was all the way back in, man, it was at the beginning of the school year. I can't remember. It's been so long. No, it starts with, it's the other one. C, the commutative. Perfect. All right, so remember, commutative property allows you to flip the order of these. So again, it's just like taking this negative 2 and 56, changing their order. 12 minus 2 gives you a nice, easy number to work with. So don't be afraid to manipulate things if you're doing mental calculations. All right, the final one, again, they're relatively small numbers, so let's work mentally. 14 minus 4 is 10, so that's inside grouping symbols. Again, here's another set of grouping symbols. 15 divided by 5 is 3, so we're going to square the 3. That gives us a 9. Plus here, the 5 squared is 25, so we get 10 times 25, or 250. So our overall sum, when we add those together, is 259.